Well, joining us now to discuss this and other developments is Alon Liel, who's the former director of Israel's foreign ministry. He's live from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for being with us on Al Jazeera. Will Prime Minister Netanyahu heed international calls for restraint? He's shown a penchant in the past for overreaction. What's likely to be his next move?
I think it seems we already know that the cabinet has not approved a response. And the Americans had a big share in it. So it looks as if Israel will not respond for a while, and we'll go back to our business, Gaza, because we still have the two unsolved problems there of the hostages and of the Hamas battalions that are still around. So I think we'll be back to business in 24 hours.
What does back to business mean exactly?
I think Netanyahu might use this wave of support for Israel during the Iranian attack to go down to Rafah. But he cannot do it without coordinating it fully with the Americans. This is the issue that is really bothering him, because without going back to Rafah, he cannot describe the war as being win, as a victory. So the attention, I think, will go from the response to Iran to Rafah. And I think the issue of the hostages will also pop up very quickly, because we are on the verge of the Passover holiday here, which is the holiday of the freedom, and the families will not allow Israel to celebrate the holiday, and definitely not the Independence Day coming soon after if the hostages are still there. So I think Rafah and the hostages will still dominate the rest of the week even.
Can I ask you, as you talk about Gaza and you say that for Israel it'll be back to business in Gaza, can I ask you, Mr. Liel, whether these actions that Israel initiated against Iran, the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus on April 1st and all this, was this perhaps Prime Minister Netanyahu trying to distract from what's happening in Gaza, the humanitarian situation in Gaza, the bombing, the captives still in Gaza? Was that a way for him to distract from what's happening in Gaza and, as you said yourself, get more Western support for what he might do next in the Gaza Strip?
First, as you know, we are attacking in Syria all the time and in Lebanon all the time. The unusual thing about this recent attack was that it was in a building of the Iranian consulate just close to two embassies, the Iranian embassy and the Canadian embassy. And this was even quite a risk. It was seen when it was done as a big achievement of the Israeli intelligence. Now looking back, it looks as a mistake by many Israelis too. But I think this, he considered it as part of the routine to block the strengthening of the Hezbollah. And right. I don't think he planned to divert the whole war with this attack.
The reason I ask is because today we're talking more about Iran than what's actually happening in Gaza. And I also ask because there was an interesting article in Haaretz 2 days ago by Chaim Levinston, who said that it was basically time to admit that Israel had lost the war, that he believed that the wars on Gaza's aims won't be achieved, that the captives won't be returned through military pressure, and that Israel's security won't be restored. This was in one of the most respected Israeli newspapers. What is your take on that? Is, again, Israel using Iran to try and distract from its failures in Gaza?
First, there are more Israelis saying that we cannot win this war in Gaza anymore. But I think from one aspect, what happened with Iran can help us finish the war in Gaza because the defense that the Israeli Air Force did yesterday night is seen as a big achievement here.
Yeah, but it was coordinated with the Americans. It was coordinated with the Americans, and the Iranians warned the Americans about the attack 72 hours before. So how can it be a success for Israel when there was so much coordination and so much planning ahead of the attack?
Yeah, well, I'm saying that it is seen as a big achievement here, as a victory to our Air Force. This might help the government. This might help Netanyahu to finalize the war in Gaza because he has at least this on his record, some achievement on his record. I agree with Chaim Levinson. I think we should bring the hostages back. We should finish the war in Gaza. Going back to Rafah will open the whole thing again and further complicate the situation.
But the Americans don't want Israel to go into Rafah. They don't want that invasion of Rafah. How is Israel going to go at it alone without American support?
Very difficult for Israel to do so without American support. The Israeli public is grateful to America, to the President Biden. I cannot imagine us doing a major military move now without fully coordinating it with the Americans. But they might approve going down in a coordinated way with moving the civilian situation out. But I agree with you, Netanyahu cannot go down tomorrow morning to Rafah without coordinating it with the world and especially the Americans.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Liel. Alon Liel, former director of Israel's foreign ministry, live there in Tel Aviv.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.